Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate you taking time out of a weekend to enjoy a good meal. This is one of the highlights of our year, which is a great time to have a highlight. Of course, right after the first 6 weeks of the year is like the least favorable time for us, having to do all the financial aid forms and everything that we do in the first part of the year. But today, yes, we're all in the same boat that I was in last year as a parent. This is the most anxious time of the year because there's not a whole lot to do. And one of the purposes of having this and bringing y'all here to be in the same room at the same time and recording it for those who can't be here is to avoid 100 different incoming emails and phone calls that are going to ask very similar questions. We cover all that at one time, and we're all on the same page, and again, keeping you ahead of the curve. As far as what's going on now, what you need to be doing, there's a little stuff, and we're going to get to the book here momentarily. I've got some things before I get to the book. There may be some award letters that have come out, some Merit Aid award letters that say there's some deadlines prior to May 1st. They want to know now, more or less, are you going to accept this award? And you don't know if you want to go to that school or not. It's okay to accept the Merit Aid award. It does not obligate you to that school. It's not same as saying yes. It's not saying yes to the admissions. It's saying yes to that award. Why they're asking that question and why they have an early deadline is because there is a limited amount of those funds that you've been awarded, and they just want to know, is that school still on your list? If it's not on your list, they want to take that money and give it to somebody else before the deadline so that they can still get some other good students coming to that school. Now, it's possible you can accept the award, and later on that ends up not being your school, and they'd still do the same thing, but they don't have as big an opportunity to award it to somebody as they do if you do it earlier. Does that make sense? So accept those awards. If the school is not on your list, please do the school a favor, and they will appreciate you for it and say thank you so much for this award. We are looking at other schools though, so they can take that money again now and give it to somebody else. And then also some schools, freshman housing is limited. And so if you haven't already put a dorm deposit down on one or two schools at the top of your list, it's okay to go ahead and do that. Most of the time, those deposits are refundable up until May 1st, but check with each school. Some schools do not refund. I think Baylor, I believe, is one that does not refund that deposit. TCU, okay. There's some that do not refund. So check with their policy, and it may, again, still be to your best benefit to put a couple of deposits down, even knowing you might lose one. Just because you do want to wait till you got the best award, and it may be worth $250 or $300 for that deposit, because if you don't put down the deposit, you may get accepted to the school or want to go to that school and you got nowhere to live or no desirable place to live. And let's see, the meningitis shots. Hopefully you're aware of that by now. It's been a law for the last couple of years that before your child can set foot on the college campus as a student, they've got to have a meningitis shot. And I know there's some insurance things that also come into play. I've seen as long as they're a high school student, it can be free or very low cost. If they're not a high school student, the cost can pop up significantly. So it's worth it to go ahead and get that shot while they're still in high school. Again, that could depend on your insurance. But you've got to have it, so go ahead and get that taken care of. And speaking of diseases, by a show of hands, how many parents, even if your kid is sitting with you, how many parents have seen their kids starting to come down with a little bit of senioritis? Is that happening anywhere? Okay. There's an article, okay. There's an article that was given to you that was printed in New York Times, and it was a quote about TCU and a letter that they send out every spring, and it's called the Fear of God letter. TCU accepts about 1,800 kids, and according to that article, about 100 kids are going to receive the Fear of God letter, which means that after they were accepted, they said the kid was thinking, okay, I'm in college, I got my dream school, I'm going to TCU, and who cares what happens the rest of the year in high school? Well, every college that you apply to, especially if you're going to it, they're going to want to see your final transcript. If that final transcript, if that last semester doesn't measure up to the other 7 semesters of high school, they're going to want to know why. And so they send out this letter called, and the letter is actually printed there. It says, yeah, you were doing well. We need you to explain what happened the last semester of high school. And if you don't have a good explanation as to why your GPA dropped, they can uninvite you to that school. So please share that letter or share that article with your student just to keep them on track, and I know that's what you want them to do anyway. But now you've got some outside third-party sources saying why they've got to keep those grades up. Now, any questions about any of that? About accepting Merit Aid awards, getting shots, senioritis? Now moving on to our Duceris book, and now you've seen, I want to talk about Duceris just for a quick bit. We've got our Duceris banner out there. I have been a part of Duceris, which is the first nationally franchised college planning organization. And we've actually been a franchise for 2 or 3 years now. I just have not changed my local name. In the next 30 days, I'm going to do my best to get everything switched over to Duceris. My motivation for that is my CEO is coming to visit next month, and so just to stay on his good side. But he likes me. I'm doing well for them, and so that's not a big issue. But I know he'd like to see that name get changed. In your books, a lot of great information in here, because the biggest source of phone calls that we get is when award letters start arriving and people have questions. And so I want to answer those so you kind of know what you're looking at when you do get those award letters, because they can be very misleading. Every school you'll see the award letter is formatted differently. There is no set standard, and which makes them very difficult to decipher what you're actually getting. If you just glance at an award letter, the way most of them are formatted, they'll talk about how much it costs to go to that school. They'll say tuition, books, room and board, $38,000. And then if you glance down to the bottom under award, you'll see it all totals up to $38,000. And at first glance, you're going, my gosh, we've got a free ride. And I actually took that phone call last year from a parent who's got that award letter from Dallas Baptist and thought she was getting a free ride to DBU. And I just went, ooh, and I knew, and there are a few free rides out there, but you kind of know, if the student is going to be in line for that. I knew that student could get some money. And so I just, I hated to break it to her, but it ended up being she got about $4,000 or $5,000 in free money from DBU. But, which brings us to reading the award letter. The awards, most of the time, again, it'll have your cost to go there at the top, and then it'll talk about your award at the bottom, and you've got to decipher what is free money and what is not. If it ends with the word scholarship, grant, or award, then that's going to be your free money. If it says anything else, well, that's going to be something you've got to pay back in one way, shape, or form. And self-study, work study is now I've seen it being separated from the award as a separate paragraph. A lot of times your student may qualify for $1,000 or $2,000 of work study from the school, and that's usually a federal award that the school gets the federal monies that they distribute as you're working on campus job, and so that's the source of that funding. However, just because you get a $2,000 work study award does not mean you are going to end up with that money. And it usually says it on the award letter, those jobs are going to be competitive. You've got to go out, or your students got to go out on campus and find what department they want to apply to, or see what jobs are available, and they've got to make the effort to get those jobs. And if they're lax in doing that, well, then other kids are going to jump into it, and even though they've got a $2,000 work study, you're not going to be able to redeem it. So be on top of that at the very beginning when you go down for orientation. Ask about work study. How do you do that? When does that start? And so you can be proactive on that. And then some people I know, we've got families, well, I don't want my student to work while they're going to college because I want them to be studying. They're going to be in school, they're going to be in class 4 or 5 or 6 hours a day, and then they're going to be studying 10 or 12 hours a day. Well, if you believe that's going to be the way it works out, you're maybe living in a little bit of a fantasy land. There's lots of free time at college, or at least some free time. And it has been said that kids who have a part-time job while going to school usually have better grades. Reason being, they've got to be better at time management. Kids that don't have anything else to do, well, they just kind of hang out in the dorm and do whatever. But yeah, usually at 10 hours a week, well, okay. 10 hours a week is not an unusual amount of time for a kid to be able to put in some extra work.
Hey, Doug.
Yes, yes.
There are more jobs on campus than the work study jobs, right? All the jobs on campus.
Most of the jobs on campus are going to be work study. Yes, and those are going to be, and speaking of that, those are generally going to be minimum wage jobs. I mean, it's possible you can find a part-time job off campus making more money. The good thing, the huge upside for the work study and on-campus jobs is that they're very flexible with your schedule. And oftentimes the job is sitting at a desk or something answering a phone that only rings once an hour or once every 30 minutes, and so you can do homework while on duty. So that's something, even though the payment may not be the best, the flexibility is there. Whereas an off-campus job, they want you there every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever your schedule is, and they may or may not work with you. Any other questions on work study? Am I skipping? Yes?
Do you know if it's still granted for first generation kids? It used to be that way.
Say it again about granted for first generation.
First kids, generation going to school,
right,
were the ones awarded the work study.
Usually you should be able to get work study, yes, being first generation. But again, it doesn't mean you're going to get the job. You've got to, just because you got the award, you've got to make the effort to go and get the job. We're still reading on award letters. The self-help part of the award letter is going to include the Stafford loan that I know I've talked about with you individually as we're going through our appointments. The Stafford loan, also called the Student Direct Loan, you'll see either one of those on the award letter, is $5,500. Your student is entitled to, as long as they're not a convicted felon, they get to borrow that money to borrow, and their responsibility to pay back. Now, where this gets a little interesting and something you may want to consider, that the Stafford loan can be split up into subsidized and unsubsidized, depending on your expected family contribution. Even though you may not be getting any need-based aid from a school because your contribution is too high, it's possible you can still get the subsidized Stafford loan. It will vary school by school. Subsidized means that the government pays the interest on the loan as long as you're in school. So it's basically free money that there's nothing accrues, no interest. It just sits there for 3 or 4 years until they graduate. And even if your plan to pay for college, we've set this up that you've already got your sources of how it's all going to be funded without having to take out these loans, the subsidized Stafford loan may be something you want to consider, because what it is, again, is free money. You keep $3,500 in your bank account, and you've got control of that money for the next 4 years. And then in 4 years, if nothing happens, if everything goes smoothly, you can write a check and pay it off. But if something happens in your life that you need that extra $3,500, at least you have the option. So please consider, if you have the option of taking out the subsidized Stafford loan, even though you're not planning on taking out loans, that's one to consider. And I'll talk to you individually about that with your circumstance. Yes?
So they have to be
Jenna.
to school before we can fill the loan out.
Thank you. Yeah, about timing. We're going to talk about timing here at loans as we move through this. But yes, it'll be in the summertime is when you start doing the loan paperwork. And next up, any other questions about award letters? And again, some are very easy to read, some are not. There's some award letters that you'll get, it shows the award, but you don't even know what the cost of attendance is. SMU is one of those. It doesn't put their cost of attendance, but it'll tell you what they're giving you. But you're not sure if that's good or bad because you don't know the final sticker price. It's and something else you'll want, moving on to page 7, that will help you to see all the award letters on one page, is an award comparison worksheet, so you can see and analyze them side by side, so you can see what is going to be the best deal. We're also available for that. And I would like for you, please, when you get your final award letters, to send those to us, so we can have them both on file, and then we can help you also decipher them and see if you've gotten a good award or not. And which is going to bring us, I believe, to appeals. Yes, appeals, which is the next thing where we get lots and lots of calls because people get their award letters and they call us immediately and say, okay, here's the award letter, let's appeal. And we don't automatically appeal. You've got to have a reason to appeal an award. And also, it's an appeal. It's not a negotiation. You don't ever call the school and say, hey, we want to we want to have a negotiation on this award letter. They don't like that, they'll shut you down real quick. But you've got to have a reason to appeal, and that could be a change of circumstance. Maybe there's been a job loss or something's happened there. Or it could be that there was some misleading information on the FAFSA. There's some of you, I know we've already, the plan from the beginning is to do an appeal because we know something happened in 2013 that's not going to repeat. Maybe you got an inheritance or you got a buyout, and so your income spiked. And so 2013 is not going to be reflective of what you can actually do for college. And then there's also a sample. This is a very, very, very valuable information we've put in this. And I do ask, please do not share the information in this booklet beyond your family. You've made a substantial investment to be here today and to go through this process to get this information. But the reason I say don't share this, especially the templates for the appeal letters, is not just because we've put them together, but it's for your protection as well. If you hand it to one person and tell them not to give it to anybody, well, it's going to be spread everywhere. And then if the school starts getting award letters or appeal letters that look very, very similar to each other, well, then they're going to lose all effectiveness. And these are templates, and again, depending on the situation, and it says, one situation is there any help available? I'm going to talk about that again in a minute. Again, special circumstances that have happened, and explaining yourself very well in the letter. I've told some of you that, yes, I'm willing to write the appeal letter for you. I don't mind doing that. I think it usually comes off stronger if you at least write the initial draft, because it comes from the heart, it comes from you. I have a certain style of writing. If I write it, it's going to look like Doug's writing. If you'll write it yourself and then let me critique it. And please, if you're doing an appeal, don't send it in without me having a second look at it, just so we make sure we're not missing anything on that. But again, valuable information contained in those appeal templates there. Any questions about appeals? Let's see if I skipped anything. And one of the circumstances to appeal is that colleges are looking to attract good students. If you've applied to two schools that are rivals, that are in the same ballpark, say TCU and Baylor, those are two schools, the cost is about the same, their awards are generally in the same ballpark, and they compete for the same similar students. If maybe Baylor is your first choice school, but TCU gave you a better award, you can send TCU's award letter to Baylor along with your letter and saying, hey, this is really where I want to go to school, but we've got to look at financial reality. Is there anything you can do to help? This, and I can say, worked in my own personal circumstance with Austin College and Southwestern. Those are two rival schools. And my daughter was interested in both. And we applied to both, and we sent letters to both saying, hey, it's between the two of y'all. And Southwestern came back and gave us an extra $1,100. Cool. I mean, not a huge amount, but the awards were really, beforehand the awards were within $1,000 of each other. I mean, they were similar. And we just sent them, hey, we're not sure which way we're going. And one of them stepped up, and so, yeah. And luckily that was the first choice school anyway. So that was cool. And any questions on appeals?
How often do people appeal, and what's the success rate?
Thank you. Okay, good. 95% of the award letters are going to be accurate. Every once in a while, and that's a reason to appeal, that they gave you a bad award, that they missed something. In the information in the meeting we had where I gave you the college planning report and showed you how much money you can expect from each school, those are going to be pretty close. If you get an award letter that's out of the ballpark and not anywhere close to what we thought we were going to get, unless something's changed, then again something was wrong with the award letter, and that's a reason to appeal. Our success rate has been very good with awards that I think there was something wrong to begin with. Sometimes people want to appeal just for the sake of appealing, and appealing to a state school is going to be a much lower success rate than appealing to a smaller private school. We have sent some appeal letters to state schools, haven't seen any results from that. Private schools, yes, if you've got a good case, you can do well. We did Yeah, that's not what I'm going to talk about. We have done some that even SMU did a good, came back with some extra money with even a halfway, only a halfway, half of a case to appeal. But anyway, that's been a couple of years ago. And after appeals, let's see, visiting colleges. One more thing on appeals. A way to get more money out of a school is if maybe your student has an additional talent that maybe the school hasn't identified yet or the school doesn't know about. We had a girl a couple of years ago who played the flute, wasn't planning on being a music major, but she just asked them, do y'all have a pep band, a pep squad, because she was in the pep band at high school. And they go, well, yeah, we do. And what do you play? I said, play the flute. And they said, well, come up and audition. And she did, and they gave her an extra $1,000. And my daughter, same thing, went to Austin College to do a drama audition, not planning on being a drama major. The requirement would have been to be in a play a year or do something, just a minor commitment. And it was an extra $1,000 or $2,000. It was something that she got $1,000 a year for doing that. Again, she did not take that one, but that's, again, it's not huge amounts of money, but again, monies from the schools are going to be the ones you want to go after first. And then college visits. I know we've got some people who aren't here today or the kids aren't here today because they're going to visit colleges. If you haven't been onto the campus of your top choice school yet, you've got to do that very, very soon. And you really want to do that on a school day so you can go and sit in on a class and get the feel for what college life is like. And if you can, do an overnight visit. We've got somebody in the room today that's about to go do an overnight visit at a college. And that will give you a true insight of what the school's all about. And again, because the first time, you don't want the first time you visit the campus is when you're pulling the U-Haul behind you and you see the campus and go, ooh, okay. You've got to know that you fit in. And let's see. Admissions, okay, appealing an admissions decision. That's going to be a little different than just appealing an award letter. If there's a school, now how many have not heard yes or no from all the schools you've applied to? There should be a lot of people have not heard, still don't know. Okay. Yeah, those letters should be coming out, just admissions now through the end of, or mid-March should be. And if you've been denied or waitlisted and it's a school you really, really, really want to go to, well, you can appeal the decision. Getting a yes from a no is extraordinarily hard because there was a reason they denied you. I don't know what that was. But if you've been waitlisted and it's a school you really want to go to, be proactive, contact the school. Now, this is the student, not the parent. Vitally important. Parent contacting the school saying, my kid really wants to go there, gets you nowhere. The student has to take the initiative and say, yes, this really is a school I would like to go to. And the reason, you've got to have a reason to appeal. I mean, let them know why you should be in. And it's not anything like because I was born and raised Aggie or something like that. That has no bearing. They don't care. Or that your parents went there. Or that your friends have been admitted there, or that you've been admitted to, and so you don't understand why you weren't admitted to this school. No, that does not get you anywhere. If you've got new information to present, if you've got a higher SAT score than what you submitted, if you've won an award of some kind, if there's a reason for them to reconsider you, that's how you get off of a wait list. But that's a little bit of an uphill battle to do. And there's some more information in there on page 17. And let's see, we're getting through this. Yeah, one of the things too is to send a letter. I mean, if you've been waitlisted, you have to appeal via letter, and it's okay to include a photograph of you, maybe you and your family, just to show that you're a real person. But just don't get gimmicky with the photograph. It's not a photograph of you surrounded all by school colors and waving the school banner and saying, "Yeah, I want to go to your school." The purpose of the photograph is just, again, to show them you're a real person that would like to attend there. Any questions about appealing or admissions? Then moving on, one of the more frustrating things, if you don't handle this at the beginning, we're all the way now to page 19, we're getting through this pretty quickly, is the FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. FERPA is the HIPAA of college education. When your student enters college, even if they're still 17 years old, you have no rights as the parent to any of their information, financial information or their grades, unless they sign a FERPA release allowing you to do that. So yes, that should be pretty much a standard thing. Yeah, there's no... And you will need to go to the school website. This is after you've been admitted. Go to the school website and pull up the FERPA form, and your student has to sign off on it saying, yes, parents can have, and they got a choice of financial information and or academic information. And if you're the one paying for school, if you're me, both boxes are going to be checked off. And if they choose not to check off both boxes, well, they're not obligated, the school's not obligated to share information with you. You're not obligated to send them any money. The student can do that.
Amen.
But yeah, take care of that one. And kind of lastly on the list here, getting down to loans that Janet was asking about earlier. The schools on the award letters are going to point you towards the Parent Plus loan program, the federal loan program that is currently at 6.4%, plus 4 points up front, 4% of whatever amount you're going to borrow. They charge us a fee to borrow that money in order to pay them back at 6.4%. The reason the schools point you towards that loan program in particular is because it's the easiest for the schools to administer. You go onto the federal website for the Parent Plus loan. You go through what's called entrance counseling, which means you got to read a few screens of information, and you have to acknowledge that you realize you're taking out a loan, and the loan has to be paid back. And after you check off those boxes and enter your vital information, you'll come to a screen that says, do you want to borrow a specified amount for this school year, like $15,000, $20,000, or $10,000, whatever it might be, or do you want to borrow just whatever it is the school needs? And you're kind of usually fuzzy on what the school needs, so you check off the box whatever the school needs. Then the school automatically is zapped the information. The school and the federal websites connect to each other, and the school withdraws what they need, and then you start paying back the Parent Plus loan. There is an alternative, a couple of alternatives much better than that, or at least somewhat better than that. It's called, and it's again on page 19, the College Access Loan, which is a state of Texas program, and it's a 5.25% interest rate, and it's 3 points up front, 3% instead of 4 or 5%. The downside of that is that you've got to be a resident of Texas, and your student has to be attending school in the state of Texas. So if you're going out of school, that one doesn't work. But schools will not point you towards that. Even state schools don't usually point you towards that because it's more of a hassle for them to administer. And a matter of fact, I called up a school, I forgot what school it was last year, and I said, well, we're looking at the college access loan, and they said, oh yeah, that's fine, you can do that. And I said, okay, well, why do you not point parents towards that? And she was backpedaling, well, the college access loan is credit-based, so is the Parent Plus loan. And so you may or may not qualify for it. And I again could tell she didn't have a whole lot to say about that. I said, okay, well, thank you. But yes, it's a hassle for them to get the college access loan. You first have to notify the school that you're going to get the college access loan. Then you go on to the website that's listed there on page 19. It's hhloans.com. And even though it's a .com, it is a state of Texas website. Apply for the loan and go through that. Then you've got to contact the school and say, I've applied for the loan, and they've got to go manually and go and find it and get that money transferred to the school. So just a little more legwork on their part, and so they would like to make their jobs easier. And on top of that, there's another one that's a state of Texas program called the Be On Time loan. It's the letter B, on time. Now this will be for state schools. Well, I've got conflicting things. This is even talking to people in Austin in the Be On Time loan program. Is this for state schools only or private schools too? And I've heard both answers. The website does say state or private schools. The Be On Time loan is a maximum this year is $7,400, $7,800 that is possible to be borrowed, and it is based on your expected family contribution. It is need based, and the cool thing about this one is that if your student graduates on time, the loan becomes a grant, and there is no payback obligation. That's yeah, no. However, again, it is based on your expected contribution, and I've even heard conflicting on that. I've heard, again, talking to people in Austin, one person said it's based on financial need, and I heard talk to somebody else in that department at a different level, and they said it's based on academic performance. So based on either being a smart kid or being a poor kid. So if you got a poor smart kid, you should be okay. But again, this is a state program funded by the state legislature. I know 2 years ago when all the state budget cuts happened, they accepted no new kids into the program. But if you're already in the program, you still got to stay there. I don't know what's going to happen this year, but again, you're going to need to be proactive. Ask the school, first off, do you participate in the Be On Time loan program? If so, what is the criteria? Because at one school I talked to, it was an Abilene Christian, I just called and pretending I was a parent, I said, yeah, I've got a student looking at your school, Be On Time, and he said, yeah, we don't know how much money we're getting yet for that program, won't know till June, and we're just doing it first come, first serve. What's your student's name? And I just gave him the student I was calling about, and he took down the name, he said, okay, she's on the list. And some other schools said, no, it is based on financial need. So again, be proactive, ask the questions.
Can you go to the school?
Go to the financial aid office, yes, and ask them if they participate and how much. And again, the school may not do. They may only allow $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 per student, depending on what their allotment is. Oh, yeah. The other thing I skipped is written there on the page. If you do have to pay it back, it's a 15-year payback, 0% interest.
What?
That's a really cool program. Yeah.
What was the name of the first program?
College access loan.
But you mentioned one right before that one.
The Parent Plus. Yeah, I didn't put the Parent Plus loan program. That's what the title up there. Alternative to Parent Plus loans. That's the federal program that schools are going to point you towards automatically. Okay. And then again, there's a couple of things there. The Perkins loan. Again, that's something the school will offer you if you're eligible for that, and yes, 5% payback. And any questions about loans? I've kind of gotten through this quicker than I thought I was going to. Let me see. What else did I have here? There. Yes?
What's the difference between, say, a Perkins and a Stafford?
Okay, the Perkins loan is going to be more. The school notifies you if you're eligible for that, and right now I just went blank. The eligibility for the Perkins loan. I don't see those happening very often. And that is going to be, I know it is going to be more need-based. You're going to have to be on the lower end, Pell Grant eligible, and then you can get the Perkins loan. I'm pretty sure that's going to be that is the qualification, is Pell Grant eligibility to get that. And FAFSA, yes, we're in the middle of doing the FAFSA verifications. Right now, we've gotten FAFSAs initially sent in CSS profiles. And right now you should be in the middle of doing your taxes. Some of you have already gotten your taxes done and gotten them to me. Great. From the time you submit your income tax to the time that we're able to link the IRS website to the FAFSA website, it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. Even though from the IRS point of view, you can submit your taxes, and within 48 hours, it's been verified by the IRS. I don't know why it takes the additional 2 weeks to get linked up to the FAFSA website. But then we'll go back in, link the two. I get into the FAFSA, and there's a button I click that jumps over to your tax return, and then I click another button, and it links the two together. And the school is able to look at your FAFSA then online and see that it has been verified with the IRS numbers, and so it knows the numbers are accurate for this year. Please don't send me email. You're going to get automated emails also from FAFSA saying, hey, you need to go in and get your tax return done. Emails from FAFSA are not that important. If you get an email from the school saying something about your FAFSA, that needs to be looked at immediately. I mean, stay on top of that one. The FAFSA emails you're getting are just automated emails. They send them out, and they all come out at the same time because the same day I'll get all these emails forwarded to me from FAFSA, and it's just saying, hey, you need to go get your taxes done. And the reason you're getting those emails, we originally filed the FAFSA and checked off the box. It says, have you filed your 2013 taxes yet? We check the box, will file, and until I go back in and check the box, have filed, you'll get those emails every so often. But yeah, just get your taxes done, get them to me, and then 2 weeks afterwards I'll go in and link the two things together. If you've got the CSS profile, which is more of your selective schools in the area, it's SMU, TCU, and Rice, there's also another form called IDOC. That stands for Institutional Documentation Center, and it's a clearinghouse for financial aid. And the purpose is that you send all your, and they may not send you an extra email. So please, when you set up the school emails or school student portals, go in and check that regularly. Yes, Tom?
If we would spend a little time on page 5 on that, interpreting the letter, I'm confused by, I can't tell if there's 2 letters there, or if you're talking about the top and the bottom.
Okay. Let me look and see on page 5, looking at different kinds of letters. Oh, okay. You're exactly right. The boxes confuse you because that's the way award letters look. And these are two different award letters at the top one and the bottom one. And just to showing you, yeah, it says there on the left-hand side. I mean, the cost of attendance at the school is there at the top on both of those. And yeah, the one at the bottom is done very well because if you look what's written horizontal or vertically rather along the left side, it says self-help is written and then gift aid is all categorized there. So that's a very nice, easy to read award letter.
There should be a line right underneath total award bill separating 2 different letters. That was my confusion. Like 2 letters stacked.
That is two letters stacked on top of each other. Yes. And again, yeah, the top one, yeah, you've got to read what's an award, because it says award, scholarship, grant, Pell Grant, and then there's loans stacked in right there with it. And you just got to separate out what you got is free and what is not going to be free money.
So it says to me the top one, it costs $52K to go there, and the award is 44. So out of pocket going to be the difference between the two.
Okay, there. Thank you for asking that question. Yeah, you're thinking there's going to be $12,000, $11,000 difference, but also included in the award was the Perkins loan, the federal subsidized loan, and the unsubsidized loan. So there's an additional $7,000 that you still got to pay back, but it's also considered part of the award, even though it's a loan. Thank you, Brett. Yeah, because that award letters are very confusing. Does everybody follow that, first off? And you got to have good eyes to even read that. Yeah, Eric's there going, okay, we're...
I gotta remember, we went to Southwestern Monday, and they sat through the financial aid for an hour, and he had a very spreadsheet. He walked us through each step. I thought it was the most thorough thing I've seen on this. So that was a big help.
Yeah, Southwestern, yeah, I can brag on Southwestern more, yeah, because I got the personal bias on that. But yes, that's when you sit down with the financial aid person one-on-one and let them go through how their awards work, that would be beneficial as well. Any other questions? Well, again, thank you so much for coming out and having a good barbecue meal. And also, I know so a few of you already have earlier. If you've got a story you would like other parents to know about your experience with our studio a few years back with our services. Caleb's going to be set up over here in this corner and just doing what you would tell him. Caleb has been my video guy back here. He's awesome. He's helping me with 3 or 4 different presentations over the past couple of years. Yeah, what you would tell another family is basically the question about using your experience with college planning DFW, or actually DUCERIS. If you instead of saying college planning DFW, if you say the word DUCERIS, that'll make my bosses happy on that. But it's okay to say Doug and Sue, DUCERIS, whatever you want to say. And whether it's about the financial side, what help you've had with a student, I mean, helping them pick schools or find some guidance on that would be wonderful. You're welcome to hang around a while and visit. I do want to visit with you. I didn't get to do that very much ahead of time. But thank you again very much for coming. Appreciate you coming out. Yay, smattering of applause.